So we are so happy that we've made it so far, to be here. It's been a wonderful
We can
experience.
hear you, sir.
Hello, please confirm if you can hear me now.
We can hear you, sir.
All right, beautiful.
Of course. Well,
Yes, I can hear you.
We can hear you. We can hear you.
All right, thank
we
you.
can hear you. We can.
All right, so we are so glad that we've made it so far since the time of the theoretical aspect of the graphic and design. We're glad every one of you was able to put in the effort to join and to be able to learn and put one or two things together. So now things is about to get more interesting, because when we are talking about practical class is a stage where you get to see how the theory works, how the grammars that has been blown so much, where you tend to now focus your skills more on, and the usability of everything that you've learned. When something is done in theory aspect and the practical is not involved, you might not know how it works. You understand? So but this stage now will give you the opportunity to be able to put everything you have learned so far, to put them into practice. And the reason why I said it's going to be more fun is that this stage now, after the class, there are going to be a page which we are going to be creating, a community page. So the community page is going to involve, sharing what you have learned so far. Because after this, also there will be a test for you to do. There will be some assignment that will be given for you. It's going to be given to you to come up with a kind of design based on the instructor guidelines. You have to follow, based on the subject matter and based on the tasks that you have been given. So after you've done this, you share on the page that was already created, which is on our WhatsApp, and you also share on the community page where you need to have an Instagram. You need to have your Facebook ready, because both of these are going to really get very interesting now. So you tag us on our social media handles, be it the platform that you like. We have the LinkedIn, we have Facebook, we have Instagram. So any platform that you choose, so you'll be able to, after you've come up with your design, you tag us online. We repost your design as well. So we are going to be giving you a couple of hashtags that you will be using. So when the community page is created, we'll let you know. So based on the task and assignment that you have been given, you create it and you send it to us. And also it is time for you to get involved with yourself as well. Each one of you on the group, I don't know if you actually know yourself. So it's time for you to make friends, because there's one thing about you, getting to know other people. There's always you putting two heads together. I said put two heads are better than one, right? So when you put two heads together, there are some things that you might not know that the other person might know, but you start to share ideas. You start to share. It's not everything you'll be able to get corrections or feedback from the tutors, but you can be able to share with one another and track your level of progress as well. So it's very essential for us to know one another, be able to track your progress, work with one another, so that you can be able to learn faster. It will help you to learn faster. So that's why I want every one of us now to put our minds in it now, and get everything that we could get out of this. Because the aim and the mission of why we are here is to make sure that it's not as if we just want to come here and just talk the grammars and then leave you like that. We want you to be involved and also be able to do some things after the class. We want to be able to build you to the aspect where you know that yes, you are being able to get some jobs based on what you have learned. So and I believe that when we put in the hard works that is being needed, we are all going to come out with flying colors, and the creativity and things that we've learned from this class is going to be something that you will remember for long. All right, thank you so much. So I'm going to open the floor for your tutor now. So your tutor is going to be Adego Kepita. So Adego Kepita, so you have the floor now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, my able mentor. I trust we have been having a wonderful time, and you're welcome back from our break. So, as he has mentioned, we'll be going deep into the practical class. And if you've been part of any of my class, you know that it's going to be interesting. I will try to keep it as fun as possible. So, design, I won't lie to you, it can get complicated, but that is why you are in an academy. We'll try to break it down for you. We'll try to make it as simple as possible. So, even if you've never opened if you've never opened the software before. After this class, you'll be familiar with Photoshop, how to use it. So, before I continue, let me know if you can see my screen currently. Can we all see my screen?
Yes, sir. We can see that.
Okay. So, before I go on, I would like to ask us there was a file that was sent to the group, I think a day ago, that we should download CS3. If you have a later version of Photoshop, can you just indicate in the chat so I can know the version of Photoshop we are all using? If there's anyone that is using CS3, you can just indicate in the chat. Please, I need everyone to respond so we can know the version of Photoshop we are using. If we have someone that is using CS3, we'll all go for CS3. And if you have people that are using CS6 and above, then I can use the current version of Photoshop. Okay, we have someone with CS3. So we'll go with CS3. If you have CS6, it's fine too. We'll go with CS3. CS3 might sound like the old version of Photoshop. It's just under 100 megabytes, but it has, like, I went through it and it has basically all the features you need to come up with a fantastic design. Do you understand? So most of the controls that are in CS3 are also in 2022. They just added new features. So do we understand? So I'll be using CS3 for the benefit of those of us that have CS3. We also have the later, if you check my windows, you can see that I have later versions of Photoshop, but we are using CS3 for the benefit of those that do not have the latest version of Photoshop and those that don't have computer. So there won't be excuses. You won't say it's because I don't have an expensive computer. That's why I can't design. So you're welcome. Please pay attention, follow along. I will be creating very simple, I'll be making it as simple as possible and as accessible as possible. So because this is an academy, we have to give you a brief history, obviously. Photoshop, where the creators of Photoshop didn't intend, if you have a jotter, you can just jot one or two things down. It's just a brief theory before we get into the practical. The creators of Photoshop didn't intend for Photoshop to be used as a graphic design package. It was used as an image manipulation. Like, if you go back in history, most of the time they will tell you that Photoshop the person's face, Photoshop this. It wasn't intended initially. It was intended for image manipulation. And image manipulation has been part of our history. I think the first recorded image manipulation was done in 1843 or 1841, 1841, I guess. I think that's the oldest recorded um, instance of someone doing image manipulation. So image manipulation is as old as photography itself. So, and the tools has evolved over time, like the famous portraits, the likes of Abraham Lincoln, all those portraits that you see of them standing, looking very heroic and the likes, they were manipulated. They cut off their head from the original portrait and then they put it on another person's body. It's similar to what you have in Photoshop. And artists over the years have incorporated those tools that were those physical tools into software version. Software, and when Photoshop started growing very, and started packing a lot of features and tools, so we started incorporating design. And then we discovered that it is a very solid tool for design. And Photoshop has become, like, if you are into graphics at a very young age or in the early years of graphic design in Nigeria, there was CorelDRAW was more popular than Photoshop for design. CorelDRAW was more popular, but Photoshop has now become more popular among industry professionals because of the Creative Cloud. It is easy for you to integrate from Photoshop to After Effects to Illustrator because they have this ecosystem. So transitioning in between those softwares, if you want to animate, you can easily go from your PSD to your After Effects. That is why it is very popular and people love it. I love it. I've been using it for the past 10 years. It's amazing. Very easy once you get the hang of it. So kindly launch your software and follow along as I introduce you to Photoshop. So the first thing you will see when you open CS3, if you are using CS3, you will be greeted with this blank page. If you are using a newer version of Photoshop, open a dialog for you. In that dialog, you'll be able to create a new document. Or if you are using CS3, I think from CS6, you'll be greeted with a dialog. For with CS3, you have this blank screen. You have this blank screen. So now with this blank screen, even if you have the latest version of Photoshop, you can just close that dialog so you can follow with us. You can press escape or close the dialog so you can follow with us. So now looking at this, the first thing you want to do is to create a new document. Let's first create a document. So if you want to create a new document, if any of us has used Microsoft Word or Excel or any of those packages, you just go to File and then you press on what? New. And the shortcut is Control N. Now, after you've selected the new document with a dialog, in every version you have this dialog. This is where you specify the document size. So most of the time you'll be given, if you are having a commissioned work, you'll be given the dimension by your clients that okay, we want 5 by 7. But in this modern era, we work with mostly with pixels. So I mentioned pixels of the theory class. This is why it's important for us to be part of the theory class. So we won't have to go in this. So if you are working with digital with pixels, but for the sake of this class, let's work with what? Inches. Let's work with inches. So now you'll be given the dimension of by your clients, but for the purposes of this tutorial, I want to work with the screen. So that's 16 ratio of our standard screen. Do you understand? 16 by 9 or 9 by 16. This is just for the purposes of this tutorial. Now, I don't need to explain what resolution is. If you are part of our theory class, is the number of pixels per inch. I have explained it again. I can't help myself. So 200 is like an average. Like this will determine how sharp your image is. So you can just set it to 200. So this is like an average. You get a very sharp image with a resolution of 200 pixels per inch. Now, if you don't change this resolution and you leave it at 72, you just notice that your work, you'll be designing a very nice thing, but it will look pixelated because the resolution is not much. Now, okay, let me just explain this. RGB color mode, grayscale, CMYK, lab color. We explained this in the theory class. So you don't need to set anything here unless someone has gone wrong with it. Just if someone has manipulated it before, you will have issues when you've created your file. So just set it to RGB color, leave it at 8 bits, and you can set the background color to anything you like, but let's go with white. So now, let's say for instance, your client says that he wants A4 and you don't remember the dimension. You understand? So you don't need to master the dimensions often. Sure, you understand? But for the purposes of this tutorial, I said we'll be using aspect ratio. So I'll be using 16 by 9. So I think you understand that now. Sometimes they might mention a form of paper that you don't know. They are all in the presets. So you do not need to stress yourself. So now let's create our new document 16 by 9. So now I have certain things that I like to set up in my Photoshop before you get started. This will make your work very easy. These are pro tips. Nobody will teach you this, but this is something that I found very easy. So the first thing you want to do is that with this mode selected, you go and click on Show Transform Tools and Auto Select. I will show you what those things do later, but just enable these two things, Show Transform Tool and Auto Select. Make sure they are checked. Now, to zoom in and zoom out, most of the time we have to press Ctrl minus minus and Ctrl plus plus. Those are the shortcuts. But if you are using a mouse, I like to zoom in with my scroll bar. You can see that I've already set it here. But if you use your own scroll bar, you see that it's not zooming in and zooming out. Instead of me to be pressing Ctrl plus plus and Ctrl minus minus, I can just scroll. So what do? You go to what? Go to Edit. Click on Edit. Kindly follow along. If you have issues, send it in the chat. I'll be notified. Click on Edit, then go to Preferences. In the Preferences, select General. When you are in the General, in this option here, you will see Zoom with Scroll Wheel. You can see where my mouse is. You click on Zoom with what? Scroll Wheel. So now, when I click on Zoom with Scroll Wheel and I press OK, I'll be able to zoom with my scroll wheel. So this will make navigating the interface very, very comfortable for me. I'm a lazy person, I'm a lazy designer, so I find a way of optimizing my software to make my life easy. So this is easier than pressing Control plus plus or what the shape is and move it. With the move tool, I can move it around. So that is what the purpose is. Now, this selection tool, I can use it to select anything on my what? On my canvas. It's just what it says. Selection tool. And you can see that this one is rectangular. This one is rectangular. That means to select in a rectangular shape. And any tool you see this small triangle under it, that means that there is more. You can either right click to show more options. So that means I can select as an ellipse or select in a rectangular manner. Now, there's this one called magnetic lasso tool. So there's a lasso tool. Lasso tool is just for selection. I said that one is for the rectangular selection is for selection. This one now you have more control over it. This is what some amateurs or some professionals use it anyway to select quickly. So if you are very good with your mouse or you are using a graphics tablet, you can just use the lasso tool. Now, if you right click, of course, you can't explain everything. If you right click on the lasso tool, you see polygonal lasso tool and magnetic lasso tool. They basically do the same thing, but the difference is that this polygonal lasso tool now, it works with like a polygon. You see, you can only select straight lines. And this magnetic lasso tool, it automatically detects the edges in your selection and then it drops your selection to the edges of it. So this is another fast way of selecting. Now, another fast way of selecting in your own, it will appear like this. If you are opening the software for the first time, it's called quick selection tool. Quick selection tool will allow you to quickly select an object out of the background. For instance, let me import an image of one of my clients or customers because they've spoiled the word clients now. We can't call our people clients. People that give us jobs clients, we have to call them customers. So they will not carry us. So now, for instance, now I've imported a customer's work. I beg you. So I've imported a customer's work and I want to quickly select her out of the background. So if I zoom in with my scroll wheel and I drag my quick selection tool, you can see that it's selecting her. If you can see my screen, it's selecting her quickly out of the background. Sure, you understand? So that is what the quick selection tool is for. Sure, you understand? It allows you to quickly select. But as a professional, unless you are doing a rush work, maybe the person paid you peanuts and you just want to rush, that's when you use it. Under no condition, you are the Pishons Academy. Take your time on your work and use a more painstaking way of selecting. Do you understand? Which I will show you later. If you select a subject like this and the background is not properly defined, use a proper way, which I will show you later. Only use this when you feel like the background is properly defined, like the character, like this one now, the background is uniform. It's a white background, so I can, and the subject stands out easily. But it makes mistake. Look at this, for instance, look at the edge. You can see that the white is bleeding into the subject. So if I select it, it's very difficult for the software to differentiate between the subject and what? The background. So now, moving on, in this quick selection tool, there's the magic wand tool. That one is very fast. Once I press it once, it will select very quickly. It's even faster than the quick selection tool. So magic is faster than someone that is quick. So now, crop tool, we've all used simple editing in our phone. It just crops in. Remember what cropping is. Slice tool, that's what it does. It slices things, it slices the document apart. So now, hue brush. Now, this spot healing brush is what people used to do to clean pimples. Let's say someone has pimples and you want to clean the spots. Do you understand? Before select a reference point where you want the software to pick a clean reference from, continue. It will select this as the sample, and then by the time I heal this place, it will take reference from that place that has no issues, and then it will heal down. Let's say there's a pimple here. But luckily for me, I have fresh clients or fresh customers, and our face does not have pimple. But let's say our Nigerian people bring their pimples to you and you want to remove it, you just select a clean place with Alt. You press Alt to select a clean reference, and then you drag your mouse over where the pimples is, and boom, vamos, the pimples will disappear. That is how we remove pimples with Photoshop. So brush is just what it is brush. You can select a different color and paint. If you are a digital artist, you will use a lot of brush. So, and even if you are not a digital artist, you will still use brush. So close stamp tool just does almost the same thing as alien brush. But what it will do is that it will lips. Let's say I want to copy a lips and I want to paste it somewhere else. I'll just press Alt, that this is where I want my um my clone stamp tool to pick reference from. And if I paint, you can see that it's painting a copy. It's cloning what? It's cloning her at the side, at her side. I can remember all these local Photoshop designers, if they want to do, I don't know if you've done this before. If you've gone to a studio shoot when you were younger, let me just show you what they used to do. And they will put a small image of you beside it. They will do like this. I don't know if you've seen it before. You know those photographs that we used to take in those studios that you pay 100 naira for one picture. So and they would now put you at this side. So they use close up to is a very fast way of creating that effect. So moving on, don't pay 100 naira for your photo shoots. Pay your photographer as well. So they will turn you to three inside one picture. So now this history repeat brush is like, let's say I've done something, I've used brush on a face before, and I want to repeat what I've done. I can just use the history repeat brush. But trust me, you will barely use this brush in your lifetime with Photoshop. So now eraser tool, it just does what it does. It erases. Gradients tool, if you are part of the theory class, I will still keep referring to the theory class. It just allows you to create gradients on your image very quickly. Do you understand? You can select different types of gradients and just draw gradients. I won't be defining what gradient is. Now, this is what they call the blur tool. What does it do? It blurs something. Let's say someone said it doesn't like her eyes. I can blur it. You can see that the eye is becoming blurry. So that is what the blur tool does. Now, the and burn will make something what? Darker. Dodge will make it what? Lighter. Let's say you're a photographer and you want to create highlights and shadows in your picture. You want to create highlights and you want to create shadows in your picture. The dodge and burn is for what? It's for you. If you want to make something brighter, use dodge. If you want to make it darker, use burn. So in the retouching class, I guess we'll get to it. Let me save this pen tool for last. So I'm coming back to it. Now, if you want to add text to this image, you just click on the text tool. It's self-explanatory. You click on it and then you type, let me type client. If I type client, you can see that I've been able to add text to my image. Now, anytime you select a tool and you want to drop it back, let's say I've typed clients now, and I want to exit my camp, go back and click on what move tool. You can just press V to go to the move tool. But if you're in text mode, you know that if you're pressing V, it will be typing V. So just go and click this. But in any other mode that you're in, you can just go back by pressing what? V, except the text tool because it's basically what? Common sense. You are in the text tool. So if you keep pressing V, you keep typing V. So now, if you want, this is what what they call the path selection tool. Let's say I've created a path with my pen tool. I will still explain the pen tool properly. And I want to edit the path. I can just go to my path selection tool and double click and edit what? The path with my path selection tool. Now I can now adjust of what? The path. So we'll come back to that once I get to the what? Once I get to the pen tool. Now this is what? Rectangle tool. This is what you can use to draw different shapes. You can right click on it to see more options of different shapes that you can draw. You can draw an ellipse, a polygon, a line, or a tool. All those graphics designers, Alagbole, that they will put polygon, they will draw polygon like this. They will now put DJ Sharpsy inside one polygon. Don't do that, or we'll train you how to design proper. I'm just using it as an example. They will put Starboy Rodo inside this circle. They will put Damu Adugboyin inside this rectangle. They will now fill it up. So that is how you come up with shapes. But don't apply shapes like that. You are part of the Pishons Academy. You are not a carnival graphics designer. You you're a professional graphic designer and you apply design rules. So now this is your notes tool, which I'm sure most of us don't use. We just simply use Notepad. So I don't think okay, yeah, it's still part of still part of the latest photoshops. So delete the annotation. I don't want annotation. So it's still part of the latest Photoshop, but we barely use it. But let's say you have a large volume of works and you want to remember because maybe you're like me and you're forgetful and you want to remember certain details. Do you understand of your work? You can just annotate it that I place this woman here so I can use it for projects later. So now this eyedropper tool. Now let's say this woman is wearing this color. You know, I told you if you are part of the color class that I'm bad with colors and I don't know the name of this color. If you know the name, you can just drop it in the chat. If you know the name of the color that the ladies. Okay, someone is saying pinch. So if you know the color of the clothes the lady is wearing, you can just let me know. And the person that said I was too fast, you can indicate on where you are and where you are lost or where you didn't get clearly, or you can ask during the question and answer session and I'll gladly go back. So now the lady is wearing the clothes and I don't know the clothes that is wearing, the color of her clothes. I can just use my eyedropper to pick the color, and automatically you can see that this color has changed to the color of what I picked. If I pick this color, you see that this has also what changed. Do we understand? So now if I want to this is just what it means. If I zoom in and I want to drag my image around, it's just like what an ant tool that you can use to drag your image around, and this is what is used to zoom in or out. Zoom in or out. So this is used to zoom in or zoom. You encounter difficulty, you post your questions in the community, and people will respond. People that have solved that problem will gladly respond to you. So that is the way software, that's how you learn software. So now, to start all over again, let me disable all my checkboxes. To start all over again, I'll go to File, and then I'll create what? New document. So now, in the new document, I'm trying to see if there are no new chats. So now in the new document, I said I will use 16:9 for the aspect ratio. But now, if you are part of a design class, you won't have problem. You can see that this image is not in landscape mode, it's in portrait mode. And I want to create something that will be nice and will be engaging. Just a very simple thing. So now let me close this. Very simple design. So you don't have to do so much before your design is nice. Do you understand? So now let me create, if I want to change it to what? To portrait mode, that means the height will be what? 16, and the width will be what? 9. And don't forget, you can start your resolution from 200 and above. But the larger your resolution, the larger your image size. So if you can see that with 200, the image size is just 16.5 MB. If you can see my mouse, and you can see it's 16.5 MB. I use 300, my image size is what? 37.1 MB. And the larger your image size, the more your system will struggle with it. But I'm using an Alienware, so I can my resolution as much as I want. I have paid for it. So let's use 300 because I'm also presenting so you see clearly. So now you can see that it has switched from what? The landscape mode what? To the portrait mode. So I can also rotate the image. If I want to rotate the image back to portrait mode, back down to landscape mode, I can go to my image, go to my rotate canvas. That I want to rotate my canvas 90 degrees. You can see that it is now in what? Landscape mode. But I want to rotate it back. I can go back, rotate canvas, rotate it the other way around, and you'll see it's back in what? It's back in what? So now what I want to do, if you are using the latest version of Photoshop, if you drag your image directly into your canvas like this, it will not create a different window for it. It will just drop that image in the canvas. If you are using CS6 and above, it will just drop that image directly into your canvas. And you don't want that. You want to edit the image separately before bringing it into your window. So what you can do is just to go drag it. If you drag your image now, okay, let me not rush. You can use the drag and drop method to import image, or you can simply place an image. You can go to import, open. If you press on open, you will now navigate to where the image is. This is the flow method. This is the conventional method. So in my own case, it is the download. So you see, I'll now navigate to where the image is on the download, which is a very, very slow process. When I can just click and drag and drop. Now, if you are using Windows 11, I mean, I'm not sure any of us are using Windows 11, and maybe your Windows is set like this. Maybe your Windows is like this, and you can't even see the Photoshop. In Windows 10 and below, you can simply drag your image and drag it under the icon, and then it will open your Photoshop, and then you can place it there. But because I'm using Windows 11, with my image selected, I won't release the click. I will now press all. Now, if you are using CS6 and above, which most of us are using, I will drag it and drop it in this side. I won't drop it in the inside the window. I'll drop it by the side where all these layers are. So I'll also explain layers as time goes on. I'll explain layers as time goes on. I'll drop it where the layers are. So now you can see that the image is here. But fine, she's here, and I want to cut her out of her background. I want to remove her out of her background. We are going to try two methods to remove her out of her background. Now, the first thing I want to do is the quick selection tool, which some of us will like, but I'll show you the disadvantage of using it. Now, with quick selection tool, I can just select this part, this blank part. You can see that the edges have been selected, right? Now, if I want to add more, if you just press it without pressing this button, without pressing shift, it will deselect what you've selected before and select a new one. So if you want to add more, you press shift and then you click again to add more. So you can see that it has joined this selection, the two selections together. So I can press shift again and select this part and select this part. So you can now see that I've selected the background out, but you can now see that the selection is entering into my subject. This is why quick selection tool is not for professionals. So I can press Alt. If I want to remove it, I can press Alt and select the part that I don't want inside and press Alt. And it will try to remove it as much as possible, but it has also removed part of the background. Why go through all that stress when you can do what professionals do and use your pen tool for selection? Now, your pen tool, this is your pen tool. So if I click on my pen tool, if you use your pen tool for the first time, you see that it's creating a shape. So please pay attention. Pay attention. Don't say that my instructor's pen tool is not creating a shape. My instructor's pen tool is not doing this. Mine is doing a separate thing. So what you want to do is that there are some settings that you want to do. And if you want to undo, let's say you want to go back. If you are using CS6 and below, Control Z will only undo once. It will undo and redo. If you want to undo multiple times, you press Control Alt Z. Control Alt Z will allow you to keep undoing and undoing, but Control Z will undo and redo. It will undo and redo. But if you want to keep undoing, going backward, if you want to keep stepping backward is the term in Photoshop. So you have to keep pressing Control, Alt, and Z. Control, Alt, and Z. If you are using, I think, any version less than 20 than CS6, even in CS6, Control, Alt, and Z. But that has been fixed in later versions. So now, if I want to select this object, you can see that it's creating a shape for me instead of parts. And I want to it out with a part. So now, with this CS3 version now, if you go to this top panel here, this on top here, you will see that if you over it, you see that it's shape layers, but I want to create what? Parts. So now, if you are using a later version of Photoshop, in this top panel here, you see an icon, you see a checkbox called, it's not like a checkbox, a drop-down menu. They will write, it will be, shapes will be there. If you click on that shapes, let's first get it together because some of us are using a later version. So